What's up? It's Margaret, Sage of Soccer. Today, I want to talk about Gabriel Slonina's potential move to Chelsea. Now, this isn't confirmed yet, but I did a whole video talking about Ricardo Pepi to Wolfsburg, so I'm okay if it's not. And this is a move that I've talked about a good amount previously. I've talked about the idea of Gabriel Slonina moving on from the MLS at a young age, and talked about what I thought his best fit was in England. I still think that Chelsea's probably not the best option, especially compared to something like a Tottenham or Leicester, where I could easily see him becoming a replacement for a long-term goalkeeper. But let's talk about Chelsea and see what his situation is going into that Chelsea goalkeeping room. And I honestly don't think it's that great right now. I'm looking at that team, and Mendy, he's presumed the starter probably for the next few years. He's one of the top goalkeepers in the Premier League. I don't see that changing anytime soon. Kepa is probably one of the better backups in the Premier League, though maybe he could be unreliable. They spent that huge amount of money on him for a reason. He is pretty talented, and honestly, even going down the depth chart, like their third string Bentonelli, he's a good championship keeper. I'm not sure if we put Slonina over him right now, and they even have a pretty good youngster in Teddy Sherman Lowe, who is pretty highly regarded. So I don't really think it's the best situation for Slonina at this moment. And it's easy to see the worst case scenario where Mendy doesn't really decline, Kepa really finds his form again, and Slonina, he just gets kind of rotting on the bench, gets shipped off to a loan army, and it's just a Matt Miazga situation. But saying that, there's also a best case scenario. Uh, Chelsea cut their losses with Kepa. Mendy declines kind of early. Slonina, he gets to be a backup, maybe go on loan for a year or two, and then he's the logical replacement for Edouard Mendy, just how Thibaut Courtois was for Petr Cech. And while I don't think that's too likely, it is a possibility that we have to keep in mind. And also a more realistic scenario, the more middle of the road path, similar to Chris Richards at Bayern Munich, where he goes there, gets to play in the second team in the Premier League too. He gets to develop a bit on loan, keep getting better, training with the first team, and then a couple years later, maybe he's not ready to be the starter, but he's a highly regarded player. A lot of teams want him. And I do see that as a good pathway for Gabriel Slonina. I'd say keep in mind, like, just because he might not play at Chelsea, the path isn't 100% there. It could still be a decent move for him. So, I'd say realistically, probably that Chris Richards scenario, Premier League 2, go out on loan, maybe develop a bit more. He will get loaned back to Chicago, most likely for a long time, so it really doesn't matter too much anyway in the short term. And I think a good thing is there's going to be some restrictions coming up on like the loan army type things that Chelsea have. So I don't think he gets Matt Miazga. I think he will end up either playing, at least in the second team, maybe being like a go out on loan, but like actually go out on loan with like the intention of getting him into the first team, like a Conor Gallagher or maybe less optimistic, like a Ruben Loftus-Cheek type loan. But I think it's definitely possible that Slonina can get a lot out of this move, and it can work out for him. And honestly, I think it's a pretty decent move for him. Like I've said this before, even from like a selfish USA fan perspective, him going opens a spot up for Chris Brady, our like second most promising goalkeeper at that age group, who's only blocked because Gabriel Slonina is the most promising goalkeeper at that age group. So I honestly, as a USA fan, I don't see the harm in this. It's easy to see the worst case scenario. Go, oh no, he's going to end up like Matt Miazga. He's just going to get stuck out on loan. He's not going to get a chance with the first team. And it is kind of easy to see get caught up in the best case scenario. Like, oh, we could have a Premier League, Champions League keeper in the next few years. But I really don't see that situation happening. And it's honestly not even good if he ends up like Zach Steffen, where he's just the backup. Like, that hasn't worked out for us. And we're only getting better as a nation, and having a backup goalkeeper, like, I don't think that's going to be good enough in a few years. So, I do like this move for Slonina. It's easy to see the positives, easy to see the negatives, but I think, just keep in mind, it's an alright path. He could easily go out on loan, he can stay with Chicago, play at the Premier League too, and he just keep developing. And something else to keep in mind, like, it's really hard to break in as a young goalkeeper anywhere. So what he's doing is already an anomaly. And honestly, if he doesn't play in the first team until he's 23, it's not the end of the world. Like, I think he should because he is really good. But I'm honestly not too worried about Gabriel Slonina's development. I think he does have the potential to be a really good player. He has shown that ability, and I think he's going to be able to do well. And yeah, that's what I want to talk about today. good to see him moving to Chelsea. It's a really good move for him. I'm sure that's like the stuff of dreams, going to a Champions League club, and hopefully he stays in Chicago for a little bit longer, gets to keep playing. But I think there's no real reason to be too pessimistic. I think if he wasn't going to make it, he wasn't going to make it no matter what. And if he's going to make it, Chelsea's a great place to do it. So yeah, that's all I have to talk right now. See you.